Welcome to this special edition of Behind the Caution Tape. I'm your host, CrashLit, and I'm super excited to be joined by Dodgers bilingual broadcaster José Mota, who also worked for the Angels for 20 years and has 3 World Series rings as a broadcaster, as well as a College World Series ring with Cal State Fullerton in 1984. Jose, thank you, muchas gracias, for joining me here on the show today.
Hey, de nada, mi amigo. It was long overdue. I'm so glad we got it done. And just getting started here with you, I can also tell your passion for SC, sports, football, everything you've done is so great. And I certainly am quite happy to share as much
All right.
information as I can with you.
Absolutely. So let's get into this. So I want to start by asking about your father, Manny Mota, and how his career as both a player and coach influenced your career in baseball, both as a player and a broadcaster.
Well, first of all, my dad was always around to teach us the game, to take us to the games, to explain the game to us, to get more in depth as we grew to understand exactly what it takes to, number one, if we were interested in playing, to be successful, and then taught us a lot about discipline within the game. So we were spoiled kids that grew up in a clubhouse, not only here in LA, but also back in the Dominican, hands on with so many players before they were stars. I mean, in the Dominican Republic, before Lasorda was Lasorda, he was managing over there. Sosha, Yeager, Garvey, Bobby Valentine, all these guys were part of the teams in Winter Ball before they became stars. All Hershiser among many, many others. Tom Niedenfuhr, Kenny Howe, so many of them, so great. But my dad made sure that we understood the discipline that it takes to be successful, as I mentioned, the hard work, your commitment to, not just being average, but being good at it and making sure that you're part of a team, understanding teamwork, and certainly, and last but not least, education. Very important to my dad, to my mom, because even though they did not have the opportunities that we had as kids, they were very influential in making sure that I graduated from college, got my degree, and then I moved on to something else beyond just playing baseball.
I do want to ask you about what was it like to spend your summers not just watching your dad play at Dodgers, play and coach at Dodger Stadium, but also what was it like to spend time, like you kind of alluded to it already, like just meet so many of these great players, like as you talked about, not only just like when they're in the Dominican, but also in like LA too, just being at Dodger Stadium in the summers.
Yeah, it was so special because it was summer vacation. I went all through high school. My academic foundation was in the Dominican, so we spent the summers here in LA. And obviously, like Dodger Stadium became like our playground because those were summer afternoons where we spent summer afternoons when the Dodgers were in town. And my dad made sure that we, number one, respected the clubhouse. There's some rules in the clubhouse. There's some times in which we were not allowed in the clubhouse if the team was not playing well. But it also allowed us an opportunity to understand more and more about the big time players and how they got ready, how a manager controls a clubhouse, how the coaches come around and do their jobs, how the players supposed to be there, from being on time for your treatment, which back then was not as big a deal as it is now. There's like 2 athletic trainers, that's it. One main guy, one assistant. But also how to, watch the game properly and learn the game properly too. It was like the best afternoons, man. It was like go hit BP at Dodger Stadium. My dad would throw betting practice to us, or me and my brothers would pitch to each other, pretend that we were hitting home runs, like from the like we were hit like behind the third base bag in the left field corner there in the grass and like hit balls out to the bleachers. It was like, oh my God, we're going deep at Dodger Stadium. It was so cool. But as we grew up, obviously we became bat boys and ball boys, me and my brother. We worked in the clubhouse also as employees, as summer jobs. And it's just a lot of fun, a lot of people that we met, a lot of stars that came through there, not only baseball players, but also Hollywood stars came through there and, actors and singers and opera. I mean, it was so cool, man. You just never knew who was going to be in that clubhouse. And certainly it made a lot of fun. The Dodgers were always very inclined to having families around, from the clubhouse accessibility to road trips to so many accommodations. I still like that too. But my dad makes sure that we asked the right questions so we understood the game, that we worked hard, that we also were align with what was happening that day. So, for example, if Daniel was on a bad streak, not playing very well, he's like, you know what, guys, it's not a good time to be in the clubhouse. Let's make sure we win a couple of games before you come in. And also sometimes after tough losses, they go, okay, no clubhouse access. You guys stay with your mom. I own the family room. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be around those guys that taught us so much about the game. Back then when the blockers were aligned by number, so my dad was 11, so to his left was Ron Say, and to his right was Dusty Baker, and then Joe Ferguson, and so forth. So it was, just things that I will never, ever forget because they're so special. And the times that I spent there and learning from those guys.
Definitely sounds like such a special experience, just the influence they had on you. And I now want to ask you, you came to the U.S. kind of fully for college from the
Right.
Dominican Republic to attend Cal State Fullerton and play baseball. What was that experience like? Just coming to the U.S. Not just like kind of full time, but also just spending like the whole year out there, and also just adjusting to kind of the American education system, where it's much more oftentimes you're playing a sport and attending school, unlike in a lot of other places in the world.
Yeah, the thing about the Dominican too, let me clarify this, is we only play baseball once or twice a week. That's it. And well, you play year round. And in our case, because of the education that we're getting, it was a very tough school. The system is very, very demanding. So, I mean, homework was not a joke. If those priests asked you the next day, "Where's your homework?" You didn't show up. It was like, "Oh, you know what? Call your parents. Tell them to come get you because you're not ready to go to school today." I mean, it was like that. They would embarrass you in front of people. So, it was not. It was just part of life. The parents always gave the teachers the right to go out there and discipline you. It was not an issue at all. In other words, the teachers were always right, no matter what, if you didn't do your work. But then I came here, and it was quite different. Obviously, I didn't go to high school. It was just transitioning from high school to college, and the language adjustment was something impacting. The many nights I spent reading a book about history, or a lesson about history, or a chapter about history, where I sometimes didn't understand half of the things that I was reading, because even though I could speak some English, it was not like academic English. It was like what I learned watching TV in the summers and talking to the guys in the clubhouse and things like that. So it was an adjustment for me to re-educate myself. Like, okay, now this is like English grammar. This is spelling. This is like dictation. This is like enunciation. All those things that I had to relearn on top of what, as you mentioned, then playing baseball, which is also quite demanding because you had a schedule where you had to be at practice. You had to be obviously had your lunch already. There's no babysitting you. So, hey, did you eat your lunch? Like, nope, 2 o'clock practice stretch. And then we play a lot of games in the fall too. So I came to Cal State Fullerton because Aggie Garrido, rest in peace, to me the most successful, influential college coach ever in my generation in baseball. Just embraces his kids, but also disciplined us as his children too, to make sure that we were part of a successful team. We were teammates, number one, good teammates, and make sure that you got your grades. I mean, it wasn't like, just go to school and get some decent enough, because it was like, obviously, you have to be eligible. To me, it was like, what does that mean? I had no idea what that meant. Being eligible, what does that mean? It was like, oh no, you need your average, C plus. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it means. Okay, and I saw some guys crash that did make it. I saw some guys that would come in the fall and just because of the grades, just could not stay on the team. I mean, the very good athletes, and they were from here, and I'm like, if that can happen to them, where they're not getting the grades, it can happen to me. So it made me apply myself a little bit more, and certainly with a push from my brothers and sisters. I lived with my sister Cecilia back then, my parents and tutors and things like that, and coaches themselves. It was an easier transition as the months went by.
I was really curious because I have talked to a lot of student athletes when I was at USC, and then also interviewed a USC soccer alum who's from Portugal about what drew her to come to the US for college. So I was really just kind of curious about that. But
Yeah, maybe let me tell you quickly. I spent many nights with my English dictionary next to me and my Spanish English dictionary beyond that, just to go, what does this mean, first of all, in English? How do I translate this? And then how do I use it within a sentence? I mean, it was, but what I discovered too, though, was that because my high school education was so tough, I mean, geometry, trigonometry, I mean, physics, chemistry, math, you name it, calculus, you name it. When I came here, everything that I saw like in the first 2 years of GE, I had already done. But I had done it in Spanish, not in English.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then I do want to now ask you about what was it like to be a part of the 1984 College World Series team at Cal State Fullerton?
It was unreal, man. Let me show you right here what I got. I lose a price for you. There you go. That ring right there means the world to me because, the words that are inscribed here are teamwork, the scoreboard, my name, second base, pride. And this was blood, sweat, and tears, man. This was from the fall when we played close to 70 games to then playing 82 games that year and getting to the College World Series. But I recall one thing that I'll tell you is right after my freshman season where I kind of had my doubts, like, can I really play college baseball, right? Because I'm like, these guys are like big leaguers to me right now. Coming into I went to play summer ball in Eureka, okay, semi-pro ball. That prepared me a lot. I came into the fall a different player, different person, different personality. I'm like, oh, I belong. I truly belong, and not just that. Augie says, I think you're going to be an All-America. I'm like, what does that even mean? I had no idea what it was, right? And he challenged me. He goes, I want you to, this fall, try to hit 600. I'm like, 600? He goes, well, you're such a great bunter, and you put the ball in play, and you can run. And you're going to play against junior colleges, which are very tough. They're going to try to get you guys out. I mean, they want to beat you bad. But I really think that you should think 600. Obviously, he was challenging me to take it to the next level. That was his way of saying, there's way more in there. I want you to really tap into that talent and get it done. But going back to my original subject was, we had a meeting in a classroom early in the fall of 1983. Yes, 83 going into 84. And we come into this classroom, and Augie had written on the board, 1984 national champions. And we're going, what is that? Like, dude, that's like so far away. In your mind's like, we haven't even started working out in the fall. And this guy's putting that up, but that was his way of projecting your mind into thinking way bigger, thinking Rosenblatt Stadium, thinking Omaha, thinking people on you, watching you on ESPN, which was a big deal back then, like the College World Series on ESPN. So I remember that meeting, and as the fall progressed, I ended up hitting like 450, close to 600, right? I mean, close to 600, we say. But just by setting that standard, that bar for me is what really pushed me to eventually become an All-America that year, to fight with those guys. I mean, I switched positions from my freshman year to my sophomore year, from shortstop to second base. And I can say, you're going to be an all-star second baseman. And I want you to be as good as you can. You're going to be dynamic and go out there, just have fun. Like having fun was not something that was really explained to me before. Like, have fun playing the game. My dad would teach me the game, but it was more like, not every day. You're in everyday grind. So, the 0 for 4 from yesterday in the fall, you couldn't bring it into the next day. I got used to playing in the Dominican once a week or twice a week, and got 0 for 4 Saturdays. Like, I got to wait another week to take care of that. So things like that mentally. On top of that, you're disciplined to do your homework, to go to study hall, and all those things that went along with playing college baseball just kind of came together in 1984. Our group was so special. Bunch of grinders. We were known as a team that just bunt a lot and put pressure on teams. But with that, we played the big horses, Arizona State, Miami, Oklahoma State, Texas, and just took care of our own business by doing the little things that really have allowed us to become successful. And Augie never deviated from his plan. From the first day of the fall to the last day of the World Series, when you can see the last day of the World Series, I sacrificing in the third inning, I think, against Greg Swindell. But that was his way of saying, this is who we are. We're not going to change. But he managed the first game of the fall the way he was going to manage the regionals and the World Series, and it paid off mightily. It was so much fun. The most fun I've ever had playing baseball, including playing the big leagues, was college baseball. I can tell you that right now.
I can imagine, especially I've been to Cal State Fullerton. I've seen like how passionate into it their fans are. Like every time USC goes down there, I typically try to make it down there. So I really love that atmosphere. Such a great environment to watch a baseball game.
And back then, we didn't have a stadium. We had a field
Oh.
with temporary bleachers that fit, I think, 1,500 max. Yeah, yeah,
So come a long way. And then
yeah.
you talked about turning pro, and I did want to ask you, like, kind of like, what was it like to get drafted and then turn pro after your college days?
It was so cool. And I'll give you a quick process about that because when I came into college in the fall of '82, I was actually eligible to sign at age 20 or for my junior year with any team. With any team, I was not eligible for the draft. While I was going to college, my second or third year, my first or second year, then the rules changed, and it said everybody that's playing college baseball is now eligible for the draft. So when I first started, it was like, hey, after 3 years, I'm a free agent. I can go out there and just talk to anybody I want. Not a free agent per se, but like I'm free to talk to anybody I want. Then that changed, and then before the draft, I met with I believe 15 different ball clubs came to my house in the apartment, asked me questions, filled a questionnaire. Augie kind of prepared me through the fall and going into that season going, we think you're going to be a top three in the draft, top three rounds. And I'm like, wow. And my dad kind of got to learn more about the education system, about the draft and combining things and having a representative or not and things like that. So, getting drafted was so special because it's like you see all these guys that you play with in college, and they talk about the draft. Oh, this guy got drafted in the 10th round. This guy went. He's now playing double A here or playing A ball here, and then you start kind of visualizing that for yourself. And then the day comes, it's so cool to hear that phone call in the morning from the White Sox and Dwayne Schaefer, the scout that saw me and interviewed me many times. A lot of the teams actually gave me like an IQ test and also a lot of them the cognitive tests, eye tests, a bunch of things that they're like, if you're going to draft you that high, there's a lot of things we need to know about you, personality, and it was quite fun, quite fun.
I want to ask you, what was it like to make your MLB debut in 1991, and what that experience was like?
Oh man, that was so outstanding because I was like, after a long wait, okay, I went through a lot. I mean, I thought about not playing baseball anymore after like 3 years. I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is not for me. I'm just going to go out there and continue to go to school. Like my mom and dad, are like, no, keep going. My wife, she's like, no, you got to keep going. You made it this far. You got to go out there and just keep grinding, keep grinding it out. I learned about the politics of the game and how it's not like necessarily a rewarding system. But I'm like, wait a minute. I'm doing everything I can to get to the big leagues. I'm putting up the numbers. In that time, guys like me at 5'9", 5'10", 150 pounds, 160 pounds, it was catch a baseball and put the ball in play and run. It wasn't like launch angles or home runs or no. It's like, no. You catch the ball. That's your job. You bunt guys over, and that is what you need to do. But luckily, I did enough of that consistently to get drafted in the second round. But then make it to the big leagues, it was like all that thing paying off, everything paying off. And when I got to the big leagues, it was actually in May of 1991, after 5 years waiting, 6 years waiting. And when they called me, they're like, my manager calls me. I'm like in bed. I think I missed like 2 games because I was sick. And I was in bed like ready to go play that day. Well, I played the night before. I'm sorry, I played the night before. So he calls me like 8:30 in the morning. Goes, hey, how you feeling? I'm like, great. I'm ready to play. He goes, you know what? Here's what we need to do. He goes, I don't want to say congratulations yet. I go, and my heart starts beating like, oh my God. Oh my God. He's like, go to the stadium in Las Vegas. And somebody got hurt in the big leagues. He goes, I think you're getting called up. I'm like, you think? Can you just tell me? He goes, I can't tell you because we think somebody's going to go on the disabled list. Back then it was the DL, not the IL.
I still remember those days of it being the DL, like when
Oh
I first
man!
started.
And I'm like, oh my God, does it have to be like this? I'm like, God, please make it happen. I got my wife, my little boy Joey, and I told her what happened, and she goes, "Let's drive to the ballpark." And when I get there, the GM of the team, Don Logan, is waiting for me with a plane ticket. He goes, "Jose, congratulations!" I'm like, he goes, "You're going to Houston to meet the Padres." And dude, let me tell you, if there's like a movie flashing in front of your eyes, like in 2 seconds, I did. It was like all in front of me, from college to high school. My mom and dad, my brothers and sisters, my wife, and everything she had put up with. Trojan, by the way. And this like, oh my God, Lord, thank you. calling my dad, it was pretty cool because as I got on the plane, I called my dad from the plane phone. Like, remember that? I don't know if you ever saw those. You're too young. But it was like you slide your credit card, you pick up the phone on the plane and pick up. And I'm like, Dad, I got called up. But before I said that, I had to call Cincinnati. They're in Cincinnati, I believe. And I call the clubhouse. And the clubhouse attendant picks it up, Nobi, long time attendant in Boston, the clubhouse. And I go, Nobi, this is José Mota. Please tell my dad. He goes, he's on the field throwing BP right now. I go, please tell him it's urgent, but it's not an emergency. Let's separate both things, right? I go, it's urgent, but it's not an emergency. He goes, okay, let me send somebody for him. Hey, Manny, somebody go get Manny. My dad comes running and puffing. I'm like, what? Everything okay? Well, yeah. It's not an emergency, but it's urgent. I got called up to the big leagues. And he broke down, man. I broke down. And I mean, it was a big celebration because everybody in that clubhouse had seen me work out with the Dodgers for so many years. So from Pedro Guerrero to Kenny Howell, Tommy Lasorda, all these coaches, Bill Russell, were celebrating me getting called up. So I get to Houston and I go to my locker and I'm wearing number 15. And ironically, I called my mom when I was in Phoenix waiting for my connection to Houston. And I said, Mom, I got called up and she broke down. She's back in the Dominican, tending some business. And when I go to the ballpark, I see number 15. Then after the game, I called them and I made my debut that day. And my mom's like, what number were you? She goes, I go 15. She goes, that was your dad's number in his debut. And I'm like, oh my God, how cool is that? Wow, so special. But to get to put the uniform on, to get to see my name in the lineup, the manager's like, hey, we got in late from Atlanta last night. There's, BP for those that want to hit BP. It's not mandatory. I'm like, mandatory it is for me. But then I see like the names next to me, like Tony Gwynn and Fred McGriff and Benito Santiago and Bip Roberts. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty special, man. So, and then playing the Astrodome against the Astros and Pete Harnish, and my legs were jellied, man. My legs were just jellied. I think I ended up going like 0 for my first 6 with 5 strikeouts. It was like, what am I doing? And Gary Templeton, who's like one of my idols coming up, after I struck out the 5th time, he goes, Moda, what are you doing? Just go out there and have fun and play ball. I'm like, he goes, just nobody's judging. Just go out there and have fun. And before you know it, I ended up going 3 for my next 4, and that was it.
I do want to ask you, like, what did you learn about yourself during your professional career, considering it didn't really go the way you were probably hoping?
Well, the thing about, like things in life, right? I was like envisioning I'm going to get drafted and play 15 years in the big leagues. That was like the plan, right? Well, God had other plans. If I had played all those years in the big leagues, I'm not doing what I'm doing now. And I wouldn't change that for anything right now. So it was pretty much like this plan was what God had for me. I got to be in the big leagues in 91. Then I had to wait 4 more years to get called up again. And that was hard. That was quite hard. But during that time is when I really pushed for myself to get that college degree. I got my college degree while I was still playing. And I'm like, okay, so Lord, you have other plans for me. Whatever it is, I'm going to follow you. But it's not easy. It's not easy. I still have to go out there and support my family. The off season, I have to work. I did a lot of odds and ends type jobs, baseball camps and baseball instruction and private lessons. My wife was teaching. She changed her career path herself because she had graduated from journalism and PR at USC. And then when she met me, she's like, well, if we're going to have a family, I got to kind of have something else to do. So she ended up getting more credits, going to school again to become a teacher, which is great. And she retired just last year after 30 years. But as I think back, I'm like, you know what? It would have been great to be in the big league for 15 years, but I wouldn't trade it for what I'm doing right now. And God had that plan, and I'm totally fine with it. And I'm, I came to understand that after just asking God and questioning myself, like, why am I still doing this? So at age 32, I retired. I'm like, I'm done. And people are like, no, you might get called up. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to play that game anymore. I know that I have a college degree right now, and nobody can take that away from me. The uniform, they will take away from me in one day, but I turned in my uniform the way I wanted in spring training. I didn't have the passion for the game anymore. It was like tiring to just think about the grind of getting called up, not getting called up, and things like that. But I'm quite grateful for the way things went, and certainly more than grateful for the way things have gone right now.
That kind of leads me into my next question: is what drew you into broadcasting after retiring from playing?
I always liked broadcasting, and then as we were growing up at Dodger Stadium, we would spend time in the clubhouse, on the field, and in the broadcast booths. So I spent a lot of evenings and days sitting next to or like on the laps of Vince Skelly and Jaime Jarrin and Jerry Doggett and Ross Porter and Rene Cardenas. So we would visit the booths a lot. So we were like, watch infield, outfield before the game, watch me pee before infield, outfield, have our hot dogs and our sodas, and then watch 2 or 3 innings with my mom when she arrived at the ballpark. And then we'd go up to the booth, me and my brother Andy and Domingo. But mainly me, I was always like fascinated by the voices on the radio, Jaime and Vinny especially, and then also the many outstanding broadcasters back in the Dominican. I was always attached to a radio and listening to games, and I just had a fascination with it. Like, that's quite interesting. And as I grew up, as I learned more about it, and video became available, I loved video and watching games and repeating plays. And back then, they had like these tapes called 3/4 tapes from TV stations that you watch and have to rewind manually to get back to a play and things like that. And I always watch games. I mean, I would spend like like during the summertime or like Christmas break watching that. My dad would bring a bunch of stack of videos home from his at bats and just full games. I just watch games and listen to Vinny and listen to Tony Kubik and Bob Costas and Joe Garagiola and all these fantastic broadcasters, Jack Buck. I mean, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. Then when I went to school, I eventually declared communications my major, radio, TV, film. And I'm like, you know what? I think that's what I want to do when I retire. Then when I was playing minor league baseball, there are times when I was on the DL myself, and the broadcasters for the teams would go, hey, because you speak so well, why don't you come up and spend a couple of innings with us? And I would go up there and be an analyst for a couple of innings, ask my manager if it was okay. And he's like, yeah, go up there and do it. And you know what? I became hooked. I was hooked. I was done. It's like, this is what I want to do. What do I need to do about it? But go to school, get experience, ask questions. And anytime I had an opportunity to go out there and ask questions to even guy like Tom Brenneman, his father, Marty, Harry Carey, and I mentioned Jack Buck, I would. And then it's like, okay, this is what I want to do. When the time came, opportunities came, but I was ready for the challenge and also to not limit myself to do only Spanish, but I want to do both English and Spanish. And thankfully, here we are.
That actually leads me into my next question, Jose, is one thing. So you obviously are really talented both TV and radio, but even the skill that impresses me more about you is that you're so seamless being able to broadcast in both English and Spanish. And also just speak too. Like when I shadowed you a couple of years ago, like you were talking back and forth, so many people just going back and forth, English, Spanish. I don't like, even when I speak Spanish, like you speak at me in Spanish, like I still have to translate in my head. I don't think you have to do that. So how did you learn to just be so seamless and just all of that, especially just on the speaking both English and Spanish?
Yeah, on the broadcast side, it was obviously not like having a street conversation. So you got to be very careful to make sure that you understood quite well when you need to separate one from the other, right? So I did take some coaching, broadcast coaching, here in LA with one of the best teachers around back then, who taught me a lot of things about the way you call a game, the pauses, the inflections, enunciation, all those things that you could just don't pay attention to. Because I told myself, my wife's like, hey, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this because you're going to be really good. You want to be really good. You don't want to be average, right? But you got to have to work really hard, extremely hard. So I will record, even in my times in the minors, I will record Sports Center every night, okay? And watch Sports Center or Baseball Tonight to listen to and watch guys, right? And I watch the Spanish and I watch the English side. But I understood more and more about the differences as I got into the broadcasting world back in 1997 with Fox. Because I started in Spanish, but I was always like, but I want to do both. And going to school, taking some training, having my coach assign to me things that were so important about separating one thing from the other, where really got me kind of over the edge of that. In Spanish, we talk way faster in the broadcast than they do in English. So I can do it. When I went to English with the Angels in 2003, like people are like, we know he's saying some great stuff, but sometimes we don't understand it because he goes so fast. So I'm like, really? Like, yeah. Let me listen to myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm speaking way too fast. But when I spoke the same speed in Spanish, it was not an issue. So I needed to just tell myself, okay, it's English. Do it this way. Pause, calm, accentuate, move on. But then it just becomes seamless because you work at it and you talk to the players and you tell the stories from the players, Hispanic players, English players, for all together and understand who you're talking to. Know your audience, know your market, know exactly the mood of the team, the mood of the country, communities, and things like that that are important. Also, understand personalities with the players and with the people listening to you and giving you feedback to know exactly what they need. But more than anything, be prepared because that you cannot have somebody else prepare for you. That'll never happen.
I definitely noted that the time I shouted at you, where you were just had loads of notes, just like all just perfect, and just how you just had everything, your game prep. It was really impressive to see just how much like goes into it, especially since, if you recall, I was actually doing play by play that summer, and even still, my prep looked nothing like that with just the access of like statistics and other just data points that just help really tell the story of the game.
You talk about notes and things like that. You got to know exactly with all the information you get now. It's so much, as you saw. You got to understand when to use it, when not to use it, when to save it for later. Because I'm already getting ready for 3 shows. Okay, so I'm doing a pregame show in Spanish for 25 minutes on radio. I'm doing the game itself for 9 innings, and then I'm doing a postgame show with David Vassay on AM 570 in English. So my mentality is, what do I need for the pregame show, the game, and then what do I need for the postgame show? So all those things come together, and that's why you saw me with so many things. But it looks like a lot, but because you're doing it every day, you get into a groove as to when you need it, when you don't need it, and what to utilize. You don't want to bombard people with just information. The main thing to me is you call the game. You're not the star. The players are the stars. The game itself tells the story, okay? And let people just listen to you naturally, the way you talk and the way you communicate and the stories that you bring. And make sure there's energy and excitement with all that, with preparation, because people can tell right away if you're prepared or not. And here's one thing, too. As a former player, as former players, we can get away with a lot of things and not prepared. Not prepared, in quotes, I'll say, because you can just base your analysis on the game itself without any background. But you got to prepare to know patterns, history of the player, history of a team, and also the many things that lead you to talk about something, all right? So never cheat yourself in your preparation because people will tell and it'll catch up with you. And because we do it every single day too, is a lot of things just come automatically. You got to go out there and throw yourself on the fire too and just take some first guesses, as we call. Second guessing is easy. First guessing is what we have to do is say, hey, I think they should steal right here, and then back it up as to why. And something I learned from Vince Kelly. It was, remember, Jose, there's always a why. Why are you saying this? Back it up. Do your homework. Talk to the players. Make sure that you are the connection between the field, the players, their stories, how they're feeling today, to the audience, because they don't know that. You have the excess, use it, and certainly that's paid off a whole lot. I enjoy bringing what the players think, my conversations with them, to you, the fan, to the listener, and also to the little ones listening, and to the grandpas and grandmas, and to the coaches, to make sure that we never stop, Crash, teaching the game, because the game changes and it evolves. I'm not going to be one to tell you that it was better when I played, because the game has evolved from way back then. It's just where we are today. But certainly the teaching should never stop, because generations are going to learn from this, move on, and also keep evolving.
Jose, I do want to now ask you about just your time working with the Angels. After you had a brief stint with the Dodgers in 2001, you joined the Angels in 2002 and spent 20 years with them. So what was that like working with the Angels, and especially being part of that 2002 World Series team in the broadcast booth?
I will forever be thankful to the Angels because they gave me my first opportunity to be a big league broadcaster. Disney company back then, and Artie Moreno bought the team, and he provided many, many windows for me and opportunities that I was able to knock and go through. And I got challenged a whole lot by being thrown into the fire without little experience on certain things, and thankfully I got through that, and I thrived. And I threw myself into it because I enjoy the challenge, man. I always say that you got to have some nights where you're a little sleepless because you're like not sure about what's coming up next. I think it's great because that forces you to go out there and reach a little bit deeper to find out exactly who you are, how much you want it, how much do you want it, how good do you want to be? Because I say it again, it's very easy to be average. I'm not calling myself outstanding or great, but I know that the standard I set for myself is one where I can look at myself after every single night and tell you if I did it or not. And with the Angels, what I found out is thanks to a guy named Tim Mead. Tim Mead has been a fabulous person, influential here with so many broadcasters, with so many media members, that he understood exactly what I wanted. Because when I got to the Angels, I go, Tim, it'd be great to do it in Spanish. And I got into it. So he goes, yeah, but I go, yeah, but here, I'd like to do both at some point. He goes, get your foot in the door. It'll happen. But with the Angels, think about it. Mike Scioscia, Alfredo Griffin, Mickey Hatcher, Ron Renicky, Dino Evo, all these guys that I knew from the Dodgers were there. And then to me with Scioscia, who was such a great communicator, gave us a lot of access, a lot of information, the players themselves, the culture that he brought and he created there, which has been unmatched since then. It was something we fought out as broadcasters to become better. And just I enjoy mean the red and the A and wearing the polos and being out there in the big A and the big hats and the TV set and then work with so many great people like Gooby and company for so many years and Billy Mack and Frenchie and all these guys was just tremendous. Alex Curry and Jamie Maggio and so many through the line that. But I certainly appreciate the Angels the opportunity they gave me to not put any limits on myself. They gave me an opportunity to continue doing national games too, to make sure my brand was still out there. And at the same time, the experience to broadcast playoff baseball because of the Angels many years, it came from that.
You definitely. I remember grow up seeing you on TV as you know, I grew up an Angels fan, so it
Right.
was always fun to see you on TV, whether you're on the set on the post game, whether you're doing post game interviews. And I do remember this about you. I will say this. I remember. I think one time you got completely like partially showered from the Gatorade after doing a walk off interview, and I think someone was calling you saying Jose Mota says like never wear your best suit when you know you're gonna be down the field after the game.
I think it might have been Billy Mack. I'm like, hey, I know there's some of these games where there's like going to be like a something broken, like a record or somebody setting up, a milestone. I'm like, never wear your best suit for that day because you know what's coming, man. It's going to come no matter what, so you can't escape it.
I had to tell you that one just because that one just stands out in my memory of like growing up watching you on
Yeah,
TV.
but the cool thing too with the Angels is think about this. I was around some marvelous players. I mean, from Tim Salmon to Garrett Anderson. I mean, Ersty and Percy and just so many great players through the years. And to win that World Series, to see these guys that they start off 3 and 4, 6 and 14, and then they won the World Series, and then to see the World Series come alive, and the other manager is Dusty Baker, who I grew up like next to him, right? It was just marvelous, man, and just the environment. I mean, the Angels set an example as to how teams wanted to play, and we heard this a lot from other teams visiting, saying we want to play like that, like Sean Figgins, like Orlando Cabrera, Vlad Guerrero, Bartolo Colon. We want to be like that. Benji Molina and Jose Molina. And it was just like Adam Kennedy. Like, wow. They set a standard. You know what? I applaud it because it's tough to do, but I think I give all the credit to Bill Stolman, obviously Artie, Disney Company, and Tony Riggins, who was a GM, very successful there in that run.
And I want to ask you about just your time moving to the Dodgers because you ultimately decided to join them in 2022. So, what drew you to that opportunity, and how was it a homecoming for you, given just all your ties to the Dodgers and your memories as a kid?
Um, it was like surreal. The one thing with the Dodgers was I'm moving here a little bit. I always had an idea that they were always watching. And I know that even with the Angels, there are a lot of times when they're like, we know that you're here, but there's always that tug in your heart. We understand that maybe one day you'll go to the Dodgers. And I never saw it that way, though. I always saw it as I'm here now, and this is what I'm doing. I'm going to take care of business here with you guys. But when the time came, it was a homecoming, especially because my mom had been sick, and I really wanted her to see me as a Dodger at one point. And the opportunity came, and my dad was quite happy and quite proud. But I had a chance to go to the Dodgers years before, 2 or 3 times. But I always felt like I can't do that to the Angels. I feel the fans are so great to me, man. I mean, just to think about all the things I experienced on the field, in the clubhouse. I mean, Trouty and Pujols and all these wonderful players. And then comes Shohei. I'm like, man, I mean, the Angels are like the ground that just got me set to do what I'm doing, to learn more and to become better. But with them, also understood more about community and getting involved and giving back and things like that always mean a lot to me.
I was definitely really curious about that. And what was it like to, be part of the Dodgers and see them win back-to-back World Series over the past 2 seasons?
Oh my God! I also surreal because you can see a guy like Dave Roberts, who I've known for a long time, see the work that he puts in, the organization and the resources they have and recourses they have, how well utilized they are, the talent, the people they bring in. They have created a culture that's unmatched. And this is truly, as I mentioned, the golden era of Dodger baseball for a reason. Organizations want to be doing this, and they can talk about the money all they want, but it's about what they have created in there. 4 million strong for the first time, and they just never give up. And I say the fans are the driving engine here that allows the Dodgers to do what they do. Obviously, they have great recourses and revenue streams in many other areas, but without the fans, it's not possible. But they make sure that they invest in the right thing, which is the players. Bring the talent, keep the bar set way high, and never give up, and never be tired of giving your fans what they deserve, which was the very best of you and the organization, so they know that what they're spending at the ballpark is coming right back to them in the form of championships.
Jose, I do want to also ask you, just since you've joined the Dodgers, what's been the most rewarding part of your job being a broadcaster for the organization?
I would say the people, being able to learn from Jaime Jarrin, who was the guy that I told you I sat in his lap and listened to so many games on the radio with him. And I sat in the booth next to him to be part of what Vinny has done, to be next to Rick Monday, and to learn from so many other broadcasters through the years. But the most rewarding part has been to be with my dad, to see my dad next to me, have dinner with him pretty much every single night at home, to know that he's watching the games and he's listening to the broadcast, and to call his name sometimes, hey, man, he's watching, and man, he's listening. It's pretty cool to do that. And we think about how far we've come, from the son to the former player to the minor league player to the clubhouse and the bat boy, all those kinds of things that really come to mind that just make me feel even more special to be with the Dodgers. And also the people there, because I know a lot of people for so many years, and they've all been influential in my career in so many ways. And they've also valued the opportunity to continue to grow, to continue to keep, expanding my brand, and continue to respect the fact that I have a relationship with a lot of players, and I want to bring those relationships to the forefront as to what we do as broadcasters. But to be part of the Dodger baseball, man, and work with David Vassay in post games, be part of AM 570 and Sportsnet LA, and be with Joe Davis and Oral. I mean, people that I grew up with or watching, which is to me sometimes pinching myself. Pepe Iniguez himself, now working with Luis Cruz as the analyst, is just remarkable, and so much fun to sometimes cross over and work on the other side with Charlie Stein or Tim Neverett, and sit next to Rick Monday and things like that. As I mentioned, is like never-ending fun. So it's like you're never tired. And as soon as it goes along, he's like, oh, my God, well, long season. But you always look forward to getting to the ballpark because of the people, too, from the parking attendants to the janitors to the people who work the kitchens and things like that. They just, as you pass the hallways, people will take care of the suites and the ushers and usherettes. It's just remarkable how much of a family it is. And it's not changed at all since I was there as a youngster and back in the 70s.
I do want to ask you about kind of just some of the broadcasters you said have kind of been mentors to you. How has their styles influenced your style as a broadcaster?
I would say that mainly on their delivery, that's just very important. Developing your own style, which is something that young broadcasters need to know about. emulate somebody in the way they deliver, the way they prepare, maybe the way that they go out and describe a game or paint a picture, but you got to be yourself. And I've learned through the years, you have to be yourself. And that's where I learned the most. I mean, if you go back at styles and look at the Dodger styles through the years and look at the successful Major League broadcaster through the years, it's their own style. It's their own fun. They're not afraid of failing. They're not afraid of taking chances, not afraid of, showing the side of them is a little vulnerable and having fun, man. You got to go out there and have fun every single day. Every game's different. Every situation is different. I value a lot my relationships with the players, as I mentioned before a few times, because they make our jobs even better about the information they provide for you by us being certain and accurate on what we give you, the fan, to listen to about the players. Because as I'm learning, I don't want to just hold on to that. I want to pass it on to you because I learned about Miguel Rojas, right? World Series hero and his love for music. Where did it come from? And things like that mean a whole lot. From Shohei, what I've learned, a lot of Japanese. He's one of my best friends on the team. And Shohei, since he got to the U.S. back in 2017, and we interviewed him for the first time, I'll never forget that moment because, he's been the same person, the same friend, great sense of humor, tremendous talent, and a guy that, as I think about myself, has never put any limitation on himself, and look where he is.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to ask you about just how you talked a little bit earlier, how have you seen the game evolve from when you first really got into it into like the majors, like in 1991 to kind of where you've seen it, how you've seen it evolve now, like where we are today heading into the off season of 2025, the 2026 season coming up.
A lot of things, obviously, with the information provided, sabermetrics, analytics, ways in which players are tested about being tired or not, and biometrics, and all these things that go along now with the modern game, launch angles and exit velocities, and all those things that go along with rapsodos and TrackMan and things like that. Now a pitch com, all those things that have evolved are obviously different. The one has not changed is the fact that you still need one more run than the other team to win a game. And you can get to that one run however you want. I don't care about your style. You can go back and play old style baseball if it works for you and you have the personnel. Why not? Obviously, there's a lot of controversy and narrative about how the game should be played, but I think you adjust to what your team provides and how you want to play. Also, what you are as a manager, how you want your team to, how are you going to get the best out of your talent? That's number one. I wish there's more effort on and emphasis on contact. I think contact is the thing that really makes the game move the best, not necessarily hitting home runs. You know where that's gotten us. Way more strikeouts, low batting averages, games sometimes that they're not moving along. But I think more contact that we saw from a team like Toronto Blue Jays and Milwaukee Brewers is a good thing in modern day baseball. It's great to have teams that can slug like the Dodgers, but I think more contact is premium and is available for everybody playing the game because now you're going to pressure the defense a little bit more. You're going to force the guy on the mound to make more pitches. You're going to make him really concentrate more on every single pitch because one mistake could be very costly. And it doesn't mean you're going to lose power. You must sacrifice some power, but certainly the most fun thing is to keep the ball moving and keep the at-bats going. And, it comes down to execution, who you are as a player, how you fit into the team, and not changing who you are, but also adapting to what your manager wants is important. But never forget about who you are also instinctively. Now, players are given so much information. The little card that you see, where to play, in this count, where do I move? We never had stuff like that. We're based only on the people that taught us the game, taught us to have the instinct to move and to adjust accordingly. Now those things are given to you, but I think it should never be taken away from player, the fact that there's something in him, innate in him, that allows him to be successful by trusting his instincts. And the instincts are something that needs to be brought back to young players so they can trust it, pass it along, and know that the game evolves every single at bat. You might think that because somebody has this template from years ago or months ago on the way they hit the ball, how they approach a game, but you're facing a guy maybe in September, he's not the same as April, and things like that. I think the game could do a little better at. I like to see the stolen base come back even more now with the rules now. It's like you should be running. I want to see more guys spread the ball around the field, and I'll be so caught on who I am. You can spray the ball and just be a better player, be a better hitter. and stick around a little bit longer by just being able to sacrifice a little bit of power and use the other way, because you hit the other. If you can hit the other way, there's going to be a lot of things you can do in a game that's going to be beneficial to your team.
All right, Jose, loved all that. I got a couple more questions and then I'll wrap this up. So what's the best advice you've gotten throughout your life? It can be baseball related, broadcasting, just any advice that you've received.
Make sure that you are true to yourself, you are respectful to God, you have fear for God, and show up every single day honoring God. That's the best thing I received from anybody, from my mom and dad, from my wife, from showing up every single day, being consistent, understanding that everybody at some point is vulnerable. Understand that not all the time you're going to have a great day or feel good about yourself, but know that if you can honor God by what you do every single day, it doesn't matter what your name is, how much money you make, you can feel good and go to bed by making sure that you were honoring God by your actions. And certainly not being afraid to, say, I'm sorry, swallow your ego, let your ego aside, be a good teammate. But more than anything is every single day, no matter what you do, go out there and honor God with your actions, no matter who's watching, no matter if you don't get any likes or any views. Those things don't matter, but what matters is being right with the man upstairs.
My final question for you is, what's the best advice you have to anyone who looks at you, they look at Jose Mota, and they want to aspire to be a broadcaster?
Look at me for what? I'm just another dude, man. I've been very blessed with opportunities. I would say that find something that you like, okay, in broadcasting. And remember, and we go to this, don't put any limits on what you want to do. And what I mean is, some people say, I want to be a sideline analyst, okay, or a sideline reporter. Well, who's to say that you can be a great reporter or even beyond that, be a good analyst in the booth? Don't put any limitation on yourself, either radio or TV or even cinema, okay? Because I got a chance to do cinema myself because I was in a movie with Kevin Costner, and I never even knew that was coming. And that was just out of the blues too that came. But I had to have a little bit of background in film because of my major. I understood a little bit more, and that's why I wasn't for love of the game. And when Kevin Costner and Kelly Preston and J.C. Rowley and J.K. Simmons were around, and they're like, okay, cut, or like, okay, we're rolling this, cut the scene, do this, prolong it, things like that. I understood a little bit more. But the best advice is go out there, find something that you love and just do it. Don't worry about it. The money will come with time, but don't think that anybody else is going to prepare for you. You got to go out there and do it yourself. And as I learned many years ago, separation is the separation.
Jose, you did mention that you got to work with Kevin Costner. You know he plays the character I was named after, Crash Davis from Bull Durham.
Yeah, of course.
For those of you who don't,
you're named after Crash Davis?
Yes, I am.
No way! Nice job, Wendy and Doug. That's great. Oh no, I mean, great movie. I still want Kevin Costner to do one more movie as a manager.
What movie does that be?
I like for him to do a movie as a manager and just sign off as a baseball movie expert.
Well, hopefully you can see this podcast and hear your pitch to him.
That'd be great.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on Behind the Caution Tape. Big thank you, muchas gracias to Jose Mota of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Has three World Series, and a College World Series ring to his name. Absolute legend joining us here today. Thank you so much, Jose. I'll see y'all next week for the Monday Rundown. And, of course, as always, fight on.
Pleasure. Arigato gozaimasu. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Adios. Sayonara.